Hey guys, Asher and Raid Shadow Legends. I am joined by Big Papa Drock. Drock, what's up, bro? How you doing? You're back.
Ash, my man, doing great, dude. I love the intro. The wrestling intro gets me hyped every time, bro.
Thanks, man. I try, man. I wish I could convey my energy. I have a remnant summon. I'm gonna. You can't see it, but I'm gonna open it. You ready?
Ooh, okay. Fingers crossed. What we got?
Give me that 2.5% mythical odds magic. Here we go.
Nice. I'm rooting for nice.
Come on. Oh, it's epic.
Yeah. But is it an epic void? Is it at least an epic void?
No, it's freaking flesh terror, bro. Flesh terror.
Oh, God.
You know, everybody gets excited about flesh terror.
That's cold blooded.
Anyway, we're not here to open up remnant summons. We are here to talk about cleansing in 2025. This is a video that we both kind of had an idea to do after chatting with you a little bit about to talk about. Things have changed in this game. First of all, there's 1,000,000,001 artifact sets. Dungeons are dead. You know, accessories. There's so many questions that even I have sometimes about, like, you make these little micro decisions on your account as you're going through your gear. Like, is it even worth it to carry normal accessories anymore? You know, especially when you're in the end game. But before we get to all this stuff, like how we approach building our account from a cleanse, from a gearing standpoint, what's good, what's not, what's worth trashing, talk about presets and how to utilize those, building sets and not champions, building builds and not champions. There's a lot that we're going to go over, and I can't wait to get your advice as well on all this stuff. But I want to start for new players out there with just a minute or two of the basics. So, Drock, I'm going to hand it to you, man, I guess to start out with here. You did the free-to-play challenge last year. So you're fresher than I am on a brand new account, at least. I know the basics like flat stats you trash. I mean, like that's a pretty obvious one, meaning the gauntlets, the chest piece, and the boots. Let me hit you with a little curveball before I hand it to you, though. Is there ever a moment where you will keep a flat stat, gauntlets, or chest, or boots, if it's like a merciless or something like that? Like, is there any time you'll keep them?
Ash, what if I told you I keep them on my endgame account sometimes?
Okay.
Not just on my free-to-play account, but it has to be in a specific set.
Yes.
And that is, I will always keep, if I have a speed or divine speed or even a perception piece that rolls a quad or a quint, like a quint roll on a mythical, I'm keeping that. I don't care if it's a flat.
Do you have a quint speed roll on a mythical, bro?
I do, I think, actually. I actually have one on a supersonic piece. I have a quint roll on a not on a flat stat, but yeah, on a weapon.
Damn, that is a mythical with an already one bonus, and then a quad roll on that. That's nuts. I don't have any of those.
But definitely, I think
so. So you're rolling them up. You're rolling them up if it's speed. Yeah.
I'm rolling if it's speed, if it's any kind of speed thing, because speed is so important in this game, regardless of whether you're just starting, regardless of whether you're the most end game whale kraken that's ever existed.
Like you.
Yeah, like me.
Stop it, you.
I used to be, but you know,
Scrap. Shout out to Scrap.
Shout out to Scrap. Scrap is the real Kraken. But I think it's one of those things where, you know, you can keep a piece like that. It's not ideal, right? It's not ideal to have a flat attack glove, but there might be a build where you really desperately need speed, or maybe you're in the arena, and whether you're just starting out or whether you're end game, speed is king. Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely still roll to see if I get a triple, you know, to start with, and then if I can get a quad or a quint, I'm keeping a flat piece in speed or in divine speed or perception all day, every day.
Yeah, so you'll take, I mean, this is again very basic stuff here, but you'll take a speed piece and you'll roll to level 4. You're a brand new player. You want to be efficient with your silver. You'll see where the roll goes. I went to crit damage here. I'll roll to 8. Am I going to get it on speed? I am going to get it on speed. So I got it on 8. Then I'll take it to 12, you know, and then I got HP percentage. So for me, I'm probably not going to take this to 16. I'm probably going to trash it only because I'm at that point on my account where I've been playing for 6 years, and a double speed roll on a speed weapon, probably not enough. And maybe it is. Depends. If it's an artifact enhancement event, maybe I'll go for it, right? But either way, so that's good advice there. So we're rolling up speed, divine speed. Any other sets that are no-brainers you're going to roll up for those speed substats?
Supersonic for sure, perception for sure.
Okay.
What's the one you get from the arena? I can't remember. It was not instinct. It's
impulse. The impulse.
Yeah, I think impulses. There's so many sets now at this point where I'm like, what is the set called?
Impulse, very good. The random skill cooldown with the speed.
Impulse. Yep. Any of those. Feral as well.
Feral.
I would do Feral.
I was just going to say the same. And another category for endgame, mid-game, and endgame in terms of what I always do at least, if I ever do have Chaos Ore, which I normally don't, but if I do, I'm taking that, usually Feral, you know, sometimes maybe Pinpoint, but a very good rarity, even like a 5-star rarity. If it's a flat stat, sometimes I'll give it a shot, you know?
Yeah.
What about you? Because, like, obviously, here's the thing with ore, right, in this game. To rework with Chaos Ores, you're taking a big risk if you rework Gauntlets, Chest, or Boots, because you might get another flat stat, and you've wasted a Chaos Ore, which is so hard to get in this game. So what I do is mainly Feral, maybe Stone Skin, you know. I might use it actually on those mid pieces. What about you? What do you do? How do you handle your Chaos Ore on your account?
Yeah, so like I'm open to doing anything. I'll do boots, gloves, etc. But it has to be specific pieces that like where I am more likely to get something that's going to be good. So for example, I would never Chaos Ore a boot in Supersonic, for example, unless it were a literal quintuple roll.
Yeah.
Only because the only boot main stat that is super useful in that set is going to be speed, and my chances of getting speed is what, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8.
Yeah.
So I would do a boot, for example, in Merciless though, because I can make a Merciless set work with speed, attack percentage, potentially even HP percentage on certain champions. Even potentially defense percentage, although it's not necessarily ideal if you have a 9-piece set that can outweigh the attack boost that you're getting. So I think you just have to be cognizant of what set you're playing in when you go to use your Chaos Ore. But for the most part, you're definitely safer going with the top row. But sometimes, and I don't know about you, like even on my main account, I am still in dire need of like quad speed rolls, even triple speed rolls for certain chest pieces and gloves. So because I have a desperate need, sometimes I have to gamble and I have to say, hey, just hope I get lucky. I know the odds aren't as good, but I kind of got to go for it.
Yeah. I mean, this is a slot machine game anyway, Drock. You know, you gotta gamble once in a while. Either way, you're gonna have to do it.
This is my kind of place. Crooked and sleazy. Stealing gold from humans is awfully easy.
That's what they say.
You're right. You hit on a really good point that I wanted to emphasize too, and that was, you roll, obviously you're going to roll first, you know, and you want to see, or level upgrade first to make the terminology easier for everybody, right? But you want to see where forget the substats if you're going to use your Chaos Ore, right? Forget the substats. Just see how, if you get a trip roll or a quad roll, then it becomes more enticing, because that quad roll of crit damage could be a quad roll of speed. Very low percentages, but it could, you know, so it's more intriguing that way. Any other beginner? Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was to say, some of my best pieces have come off of rolling, re-rolling stuff. Like, do not neglect it. It is huge.
Any other beginner tips for cleansing in general?
Yeah, I've got one that's definitely like my overall tip, and it works for everything. And that is, it's all relative. It's all relative, right?
Great tip.
It's the most important thing when it comes to cleansing gear on your account. It's your account, right? I have a different account than Ash does. Ash has a different account than you do. You need to know where your gear is deficient, where you are hurting for pieces, so you can be more lenient in keeping things. Like Ash just talked about keeping a double speed roll on a weapon. Maybe you don't have a double speed roll. Maybe you only have one in a speed set. So you need to know your gear in order to cleanse effectively. And sometimes that means like the hard and fast rules of like, I won't keep anything that's below a triple roll at this point. Sometimes that's not true for me.
There are no hard and fast rules, right? There really aren't, you know, generally speaking.
It's all up to you, and it's all where your stuff is at. So it's why, you know, nobody enjoys gear cleansing, I don't think.
No.
But it's the most important thing you can do on your account, or one of them, because it enables you to make better builds, and it enables you to keep the right stuff versus trashing the wrong stuff for you.
Okay. Great tips. In the beginning, I have one more beginner's question for you. And I don't think I even, frankly, I know what I would answer, but I'm not sure what like the majority of the wonks would recommend. So I want to get your take on it. And
why don't you just say it?
As a brand new player, should you just let your entire inventory pretty much fill up before you go in there and start whittling down the gear? with the exception of like the flat stats, I guess, like, are you just generally keeping everything? Or are you trying to exchange it to silver and immediately going in there and getting into the habit of cleansing?
That's a great question. I think I would lean more towards being very lenient in keeping stuff. And certainly that's what I've done on my free to play over the last year, where I don't know what I'm going to need. And I don't know how many champions I'm going to need to build, or how many different, like sets something might need in order to make a team work for a specific piece of content. So I think you're better off being a little less harsh to start. And then as you start to accumulate gear, if you need some gear for certain events, if you need silver, for example, like go through a little bit at a time and kind of go and take care of that then, as opposed to being really harsh off the rip and being like, oh, it's a 5-star piece and I'm never going to use that. So I would err more on the side of caution and not be super like sell it all as you get it. Just like let it accumulate a bit and then kind of go through as you need it.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. Like, you do want to get into the habit of identifying good gear, obviously, and obviously we're looking for, like, to me, if I can get speed, crit rate, accuracy, something like that, generally speaking, that's what I'm looking for in my substats. It's, obviously every set's going to be a little bit different what you're, depending on what you're looking at, but speed and crit rate, I'm generally excited about it for substats, right? You want to keep that stuff, speed specifically. And if it doesn't have speed for a substat, most of the time, as a general rule, you're probably going to be pretty good to trash it. But in the early game, you don't know exactly what you're going to need outside of like looking for speed. So I am the same exact way. I would try to basically keep my inventory so until it fills up, and kind of go from there, doing a little bit of cleansing so you can get familiar with it. All right, I wanted to get your thoughts. I do want to get into builds and stuff like that, so guys, make sure you stay tuned. And if you have another topic that you'd like to see, we're kind of planning on some sort of like maybe a little podcasty type thing in the future, but we could also cover like broad topics like this, gearing in 2025. I'm already enjoying the convo, man. Before we get to the actual build portion of this, like the presets for champions and how that changes everything about how we actually cleanse, right? I wanted to ask you a little bit about the dungeon sets. This is Spider accessories, and this is Ice Golem, Fire Knight, and Dragon. For me, I'm almost to the point with my account. This is obviously towards more end game, mid to end game, I guess, right? I'm already at the point where unless I'm getting a mythical accessory, I'm trashing it. And that even means, in most cases, even like an accuracy banner with speed substats, I'll roll it just to see if I get, really lucky with a trip or a quad speed maybe. But other than that, it's gotten to the point where I feel like dungeons in end game, I want to be clear, dungeons in end game, outside of event dungeon, they're kind of, I'm trashing almost all the gear. Savage an exception too, So where do you stand with accessories? Because you have to make these tough decisions. I'm farming all this freaking pinpoint stuff, bro, and I have nowhere to put it. So eventually you have to start looking at the gear that you kept for all these years, right? So how do you navigate that on your account?
Well, not well, because I told you before this video started that I had pinpoint gear expiring, and I totally forgot about it in my inbox, and now it's gone. So
he let the inbox pinpoint gear expire, guys.
Hello?
Eric Bachman, this is your mom, and you are not my baby.
It's brutal.
I've never done that, man. But I have let things expire, but not good gear.
It's so brutal.
I've let rebattles, auto battles expire accidentally.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing right now, right? Because we are absolutely, if you are an end game player, in my opinion, you're used to trying to keep as much stuff as possible because you just don't know. That's the thing. You just don't know. You don't know what you're going to need. You don't know what they're going to do to change gear sets. You don't know. And so you're scared that like a piece that maybe is decent right now or good right now might become great because they changed something about whatever. So it's a really tough question, but the reality is they have greatly devalued every piece of accessory from Spider, everything from dungeons. All of it's been devalued with the advent of pinpoint, with the fact that you can craft, mythical lethal set now. Like realistically, your best gear is going to come from playing live arena for impulse set. You know what I mean? Or even zeal, or
Siege,
from crafting.
Centranos. Yep.
Yes, Centranos as well.
Yep.
Forge, and then that one specific event dungeon. So they've really taken the game in a different way, where a lot of the stuff you might have now just isn't worth keeping around. But what I would say is this: I'll still keep a legendary piece from a spider, from a spider run, if it has speed for a banner, I'm still going to keep that, because a quad speed roll is a quad speed roll. And even if I'm not building someone in 9-piece pinpoint or whatever else, the reality is a lot of times you're building 4-piece stone skin, 4-piece savage. You can still use one of those accessories to fill one of those slots on damage dealer, or even a speed lead where you probably don't have 9 pieces of god tier pinpoint stuff. Like, you might 2 years down the road, that's very possible, but that's 2 years away. And you don't want to put yourself at a disadvantage on missing out on a quad. So for me, I'll still roll a banner if it has speed. And if I know in a certain faction that I'm really struggling for, like, I don't have a good HP ring with HP percentage substats, even then I'll still sometimes roll those in legendary or above. But anything below legendary in spider, I am definitely selling now for sure, regardless of whether it's 5 or 6 star. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, it's gone as an end game player without a doubt.
Yep. I think that's great advice, man. I agree with you. Like, you need to, again, going back to your point you made earlier, you need to know where your account's at, right? Like, crit damage, amulets, it might probably make a lot of sense to still roll up legendary, you need to, but eventually it might, for you, it might be different than for me and for Drock, right? It might be for you need to get comfortable with no longer, upgrading 4 stars or 5 stars, but there does need to be that barrier, that floor, and you have to get comfortable to go in there and be able to trash some of this gear and be able to not get emotionally attached to everything that you have, right? One of the things that I found very useful, Drock, was I let Ascension be the decision maker sometimes, I'll take it to level 12 and I'll be like, okay, I have boots on the screen right now, you can't see, but their speed boost, perception, my substats all suck, right? So I'm like, speed boots are still speed boots, but where I'm at, I'm like, okay, I got attack, flat stat, resist, and crit damage. What am I going to do? So I'll ascend. If I get speed, which I didn't, I got to attack flat stat, it doesn't have to be this example, but you can let that ascension, if you get lucky with the ascension, you can let that be the deciding factor, right? On whether you want to keep it or not.
For sure. Given how absurdly energy intensive Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun is, and by the way, player, if you see this, please make them a little more friendly for the players. But
Who the hell is this guy?
yeah, for sure. Like, God, Ash, I rolled a HP percentage piece on my Galathier the other day. I rolled it 23 times.
Oh, bro.
To get the HP percentage ascension on it. 23 times.
I've been there, man. I've raged before you start out and you're like, okay, I'll go another one. And then you're like, I'll go another one. And then it's the sunk cost fallacy kicks in, bro, right? Where you're like, I've gone this far, I'm not stopping. So how many times have you been in a position where you've re-rolled at 9 cost, at the full cost?
Dude, too many to count, and it's
too many times.
It is the most devastating thing mentally and emotionally, where you're like, come on, man. Yeah. Like, this is gonna cost 10,000 energy. I'm free to play for at least another month. Come on, man.
Dude, you ever do like an overnight run of and burning a ton of energy, and then you wake up and you're like, I'm rich with the chaos dust.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you rage burn it.
Gone.
Listen, another thing that you can do to clear up space before you make these tough decisions about, okay, do I have to go through and sell all my normal gear, all my non-9 pieces? It's really, I hate 2 things real quick, just complaints, is I hate the way the accessories are, how it's separated. So, what I'm saying? I don't know what, half the time I'm like, oh, look at this. I need for my barbarian, I need a stone skin. Oh, look at this. I have a stone skin amulet. And then I don't even realize I'm on Lizardmen. Like, it changed my faction on me or whatever, And I have all kinds of problem with this. That's number 1. Number 2 is, I know we asked for it for years and years, but God, we're sitting here complaining about how to trash good gear. It's like, dude, add 100 more spots, 100 more slots, man. I mean, I understand the concerns about the how fast the game runs and what, because I used to play on an older device way back in the day when I started, and it did lag when I was opening my gear and stuff, but man, this is just, I feel so limited. Okay, but my tip is where you can usually find a lot. Don't ignore that banner, guys. That I was on like an old champion in my vault. But where you can find a lot of gear is going to gear that you've leveled up maybe years ago, right? Like, do you ever do that, Drock? You ever go and you look at something that's level 12 just sitting in your inventory and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I keep this?
Yeah.
And again, I think it goes to the sunk cost fallacy of like, well, I invested enough silver to level it up to level 12. But then you're like, or sometimes you'll hold on to, I feel like it's psychological. I feel like sometimes I catch myself holding on to higher rarity with bad sub rolls. Because like, oh, it's a mythical, so I'm holding on to it, but it really sucks. Actually, this one that I just clicked on, it's a defense barbarian amulet. And I've got like crit damage and accuracy. Like, again, it's not awful. And a lot of accounts could use something like this, but like, I'm not going to be like, ask yourself this question. Who is going to be using this? You know, you should always ask yourself that question. All right. Any other general cleanse tips before we move into builds and how that informs how we like look at all gear on our champions?
I think, just have patience. Like the desire with cleansing is we want to get it done as quickly as possible because it is such a tedious part of the game. And also, I think it's made it especially difficult now, to your point, because of the way that accessories are sorted and the fact that we don't have a way to specifically search only by role level. Like, I want to look specifically at gear that's rolled up to level 8, or I want to look specifically only at pinpoint gear. So this is one of the big things I think that Plarium could look to help us. If they can't give us more slots, if they could just give us a way to better sort stuff, that would make such a major impact to the community because this is the most tedious part of the game. But I think you just have to be patient. Like if you're on a computer, if you're not on mobile, consider using something like RSL Helper, which can definitely help you sort through some gear. Consider using stuff like Hell Hades, which is, I think you can do this for free.
Optimizer is insane, yeah.
Optimizer, yeah, which will give you, again, it gives you a base idea of how good a piece is. I say base idea because sometimes you'll look at it and be like, wait a second, this is telling me it's really bad, but this is actually not bad at all. So you still have to use your judgment as to what you keep or what you sell. But if you're just patient, if you use the different avenues available to you, and if you just say, like, if you sit down and say, okay, for the next, in my case, 7 hours, I'm gonna gear cleanse. Like, sometimes that's how long it feels like. I will gear cleanse for the entirety of my Saturday, and then of course,
dude, you almost have to be in the right mood, right?
You really do.
You almost have to be in a mood to do it. You know, like kind of like you can have fun tidying the house. Maybe if you've like partaken in some adult activities and have some nice music playing, and like if you set the setting and the mood, maybe you can get into tidying the house a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
but 99% of the time you're not in the mood. You know.
No, definitely not. And one more tip is this: if you're really hurting for space, if you are at a place where you just can't bring yourself to sell something and you're really hurting for space, pull out some of your champions from your master vault and just start throwing accessories on them. I am not going to lie to you. I have done that many a time where I'm like, I just can't make the decision on selling this piece. So it looks like my Nogdor is going to be getting some more accessories here, because then you could just wait for any.
Bro, why you got to take a shot at Nogdar, man?
You know why? Because or not Nogdar. I was thinking Norog. That's who I was thinking. My Norog.
Oh, okay. I was wondering who Nogdor is, but I was...
Yeah, Nogdar. I know you like Nogdar. You like Nogdar, and I like Nogdar.
I like Nogdar. Listen.
Norog.
I get so much flack from endgame players like, oh yeah, Ash thinks Nogdar is good. Ha ha ha. But bro, I'm just like, I just like him. Like, I'm not saying he's the best champion.
Hey, we like who we like. And we all hate Norog is who I was really thinking of.
We all hate the pig, man. We all hate the pig.
Yes, we hate that pig because I just pulled him on my free-to-play doing shards for this.
Ooh, congratulations.
Oh, God, dude, I'm so sad. Like, doing shards for this
Got
fusion.
the big skin passive. All right.
Wow, incredible champ.
That's good cleanse advice, guys, honestly. I mean, but what I really wanted to talk about is presets. Presets might have been my favorite update of the last year. I mean, maybe second favorite. I don't know. Like quick battles is really good and stuff like that. There's a few things they added that was really good quality of life. But personally, this is a game changer for me, and I want to implore everybody out there to do it too. And it will change the way that you cleanse. Really, it will change the way that you think about builds on your account. And the cool thing is, this applies to early game, end game players just the same, right? And what you should do is what I do. First of all, I think both of us here will both admit right out the gate that we're not where we want to be with our presets yet on our accounts.
100%.
We're not perfect.
100%.
We're not perfect, but I am really motivated to get there. And what I want, what I do, what I look at, how I look at my account is I no longer build. I have like 2 categories. Number 1 is my best builds on my account, the best gear that I can possibly put for each type of champion. It might be a bolster, it might be a supersonic, it might be a stone skin, established stone skin, a lethal stone skin, it might be a merciless, a 6-piece merciless, whatever. I try to think of like the best builds possible, everything that I would need, the fastest, and then the second fastest. So like what you should do is, what I would do is write down on a piece of paper all the builds that you want to know which are the best in your account, right? So again, a good example to start with Drock is like the fastest. My overall fastest set I can possibly put on a champion, period, right? And then after that, you want to make a speed number 2, ideally without using the same gear, okay? So I'm not even thinking about champions here. I'm only thinking about my global presets, right? You can throw them on your Arbiter or whoever you're using, right? Like generally they might be on that type of champion, but this will give you a good indicator. So when you get new gear, the first thing you can ask yourself is, if you get a new piece of gear that's really good, could this go in? Is this better value over replacement than any of the gear in my fastest speed in my account possible set? You know, if not, is it good on, could it fit in speed 2 on my account? Could it fit on speed 3? This way, you're thinking about builds, and how should you navigate these builds? Well, obviously it costs so much freaking silver, millions, to switch this over. So you should try to keep those coupons from Curse City. You know, they give them from time to time. They used to have the events. I don't feel like they even do those anymore. But the free artifact removals, right? You should really be poised to take advantage of that time and try to coordinate your Hydra handoffs, your gear handoffs for those times, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be wanting muling millions of silver all the time on your account. It's not sustainable. However, you should, for content that you want to beat for the first time, that you're really struggling with, or if you really want to go all out in a big, long, live arena run, right? If you want to accomplish something, you want to use all those sets on your champions. You want to do your big Chimera because you want those relics. You want to hit the trials. You want to win. You want to win and clash, and your whole team, a Hydra clash, and your whole clan is counting on you. That's when you want to go in to the global presets and use your best sets. You're going to have them all there. And you want to have different sets, different calibers of sets. That way, because you can get into this nasty thing where you're reusing the gear. Like sometimes I'll look, oh, Alaz has it here, and he has the gear there, and he has it here. So you also want champion preset. Take advantage of the champion presets as well, where you're putting your number 1 build or your number 2 builds for the most commonly used areas. I spoke for way too long there, Drock, but talk to me a little bit about presets, and do you agree with everything I said? And if so, like
100%, 100%.
How do you feel about them?
I think that's the ideal, right? It's just, it's tricky to like, you got to really be on top of your game, looking at which pieces you've already used and which go into that next preset. But absolutely, that's the goal. And especially for content like Curse City, which to this day is still the bane of my existence on certain, you know, like resets.
That's why you need a stun 1, stun 2, stun 3, stun 4, stun 5.
Stun 7,
right?
Stun 95, provoke 80. I mean, like, oh God, don't even get me started, because it's one of my least favorite pieces of content, I think, in the game overall, at the high end, at like the whatever those Soul Cross stages are. But yeah, like ideally this is what you're doing. Like you're really taking the time to know what the absolute best possible builds on your account are, and then you're prioritizing depending on what piece of content you want to do using those builds. And then the only other thing I would add too is, like, for arena, I think, you know, depending on how many champions you have, it can change, because you need to be able to have set builds of, okay,
yes,
I'm going to try to pull in a Harima here because I know that this is how I counter whatever they're doing with this champion. So that's where it can be a little tricky, because you do need to make sure that some of these champions are always built in the event that you need to pull them in. But for the most part, if you're pretty diligent about building these presets out, it can allow you to switch stuff around when necessary to complete certain content. And so it's a juggling act, I think. But I agree with you that it was a really impactful update, and one of the best things that Raid has done in a long time. Like, you know, anything quality of life related, I think right now is a slam dunk when Plarium puts their time into it. Like, the more of that kind of stuff that we get, the better off we're going to be. So this is definitely in that category for me.
100%. Another thing, another big tip is what I would do if I was everybody out there is downgrading gear. Very strange to say, because you always think about like getting better gear on everybody, but the problem that you get into is you want your best gear on all your champions, which isn't feasible, right? So outside of live arena or the most competitive areas of the game, you really need to look at your old Dragon teams, your old Ice Golem teams, your Iron Twins team, whatever. Like any dungeon that's just strictly PvE, maybe your old school Demon Lord team. You really need to go in there and take good pieces of gear off of those champions. Because now we have blessings, we have relics, we have a lot of other ways, you know, Advanced Great Hall, all this stuff that you probably can get by with less. Faction War champions. You don't need everybody to have a random good piece here and there, right? Consolidate that good gear and put them into the builds, put them into your sets, you know? Because I found a lot, like honestly, I'll just have a random really good artifact on a champion, like that I barely ever use. So you don't want to waste it on them, right? Like put that into a build, into a preset build and get it off, right? And get by with a bare minimum on all those areas that you can you can auto clear. And one extra second of time is not going to make that big of a difference, you know?
I'll give you a great example. Someone asked me once, I was doing a stream and they were like, "Oh, can you show me your clan boss team?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. It's terrible, but I'll show it to you."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, why is those scores so low?" And I was like, "Because I don't care as long as it one keys. I don't care. I'm not going for a record here. I want that elite gear somewhere else where it really matters. It's an auto battle now, so I don't care about speed. It's a guaranteed one key. That's the most important thing on any affinity, you know, at that point. So why would I take my best gear or some of my best gear or really strong gear and put it on these champions? Like I want the absolute minimum because I know that's a team I'm not touching. Like, that is a team that is going to stay the same. I'm not going to pull gear off of it. And I'm going to go in the optimizer if I'm using Hell Hades site, and I'm going to lock those champions specifically so that I never even think about using that gear. And I want that gear to be the worst possible version of the gear that still gets the job done consistently.
Absolutely. To your point, I'm like looking at, but other than Krisk, I'm looking at my clan boss team and like there are a bunch of, you know, rares and random epics and random crappy gear, you know, in Wixwell. But like it's exact same thing with me. Like I've scored 119 million, but who cares? You know, like I'm definitely not anywhere near the top 10 of my clan or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. So definitely consolidate and downgrade your gear on champions that don't need your best gear. Man, we've covered a ton in this video, dude.
Yeah.
Is there anything at all that you wanted to mention that we didn't, or do you think we've been pretty thorough?
I think we've covered the majority of kind of just you know, strategies behind this. It's really changed a lot, and the game has changed a lot in terms of how you approach it. So I think it's one of those things too, where if you ever have a question, you know, ask a friend, ask someone in a clan if you're struggling on a piece. Like that's one of the things that I'll do. If I have like a quad roll in an area, I'm like, do I re-roll this? I'll go put it in my clan chat in the Discord and be like, what do you think, guys? Do I risk re-rolling this? And they'll either be like, nah, bro, it is what it is. Just keep it. You don't want to risk it. Or they'll be like, yeah, dude, you have to re-roll that. It's pointless to have a quad on this stat. So I think lean on your community too.
Yeah, for sure. That's good advice, man. Last question before you go. What was the last legendary champion that you summoned?
On my free-to-play?
Well, no, not other than Norog.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's that stupid pig, Ash. God, I'm so sad about that.
I want to know.
Unfortunately, on my main account, it was this morning at 3 a.m. because I was still up waiting for the event to start to summon the few shards that I have for this brutal fusion. And it was Withier the Crowned. I was really hoping to get the Moto on the main account. I was keeping my fingers crossed because he seems interesting, but your boy came up empty. He got himself another Withier. What about you?
Wither the Crowned, my man. You know who I pulled? It took me, well, you haven't seen the video yet, but it's going live. Like it's already live, but you haven't seen it yet. But Chalco the Blind, I got this dude.
No, are you serious?
I had to brag a little bit, but honestly, it's the most painful shard opening video of my life. I'm just gonna cop to it. I spent way too much money for this stupid guy. I don't care how good he is or whatever. Like it was like the most unfulfilling actually got him moment because I just was like, dude, am I really doing this? You know?
How many shards?
I don't know. I re-upped every single time. Everything. I bought the entire shop to get this stupid guy.
Our boy is back. He's back, baby.
Yeah, I'm back, bro. I'm back. I'm glad this is the very end of the video. Only my loyal viewers who will forgive me are watching. But anyway, I got the bug, though. That's all that matters.
I'm so jealous. He looks freaking awesome. So
He looks cool. He looks
You
cool.
have to do a video on him. I want to see what he's capable of.
I will. He's no Ieyasu. He's still my most wanted. He's still evading me. But
Oh,
yeah.
really? That's your most wanted? We can trade. I've got him. You take him, I'll take the bug.
Yeah, you'll trade? You trade?
I'll trade.
Ooh, you like the bug
'cause-
that much? I'm
Well,
intrigued.
because, dude, Chalco, right? The
Yes.
new, yeah, like he looks absurd for Arena. He looks absurd.
He's got the, I haven't even built him yet, but he's got the, so what excites you most about him? The AoE increased accuracy, the decreased speed on the AoE. He's got the 2-time, it's that A2, the Inducer of Panic, right? It's
Yeah,
the
A2
block
is-
passive skills with a debuff spread, extra turn if it kills an enemy.
Yes, that and the
And
fact
he's
that
immune to
like,
CCs.
He's immune to CCs, but also just the fact that you like his AoE has the chance to decrease enemy buff durations too. Like you're getting
Yes.
so much value with him.
Yep.
In so many different areas, and he's a void, so you're never weak hitting.
Yep.
So,
And he pops
yeah,
off, and he instantly activates his A2, the block passive skills. So even if you try to freeze with like an Armand's or whatever, he ends the damn battle, bro.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Like he's such a
right.
hard counter to any type of CC. So you definitely have to do a video on him.
Yes.
And I'm super jealous.
All right, thanks, man. I mean, you shouldn't be, given how much I have spent. But all right, guys, we're going way too long. Thank you for watching till the end, guys. If you're not already, seriously, what are you waiting for? Go subscribe to Big Papa Drock. He's going to be upping his content cadence, his upload cadence, and we have a lot of fun ideas in the future for you guys. So, Drock, thanks again, man. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, take care, guys.